The morning sun glinted off the chrome of the tow truck as it idled in my driveway, its engine rumbling like an unwelcome intruder. Through my kitchen window, I watched a woman in her 50s, her auburn hair styled in a sharp, angular bob, point dramatically at my slate gray sheriff's SUV. Her voice pierced the morning calm with a grating intensity. "That unsightly commercial vehicle has to go," she barked at the tow truck driver, who looked more confused than convinced as he crouched to attach the tow hook. Her gaze landed on something that stopped her cold. The official sheriff's department emblem on my driver's side door gleamed in the sunlight. Her smug grin vanished, replaced by a look I hadn't seen on her face before, pure panic. Let me back up a bit. My name is Lucas Bennett, a 12-year veteran of the county sheriff's department tactical response unit. After a tough few years, including a messy divorce, I moved to Pinewood Grove, a serene suburban neighborhood 30 minutes from the city. All I wanted was a quiet place to recharge between high-stakes shifts. The realtor promised a peaceful community with reasonable HOA rules. What she didn't mention was the HOA president, Margaret Hensley, though neighbors whispered her nickname, Karen, with a mix of fear and amusement. My department-issued SUV, a modified Chevy Tahoe with reinforced bumpers, discreet emergency lights, and sheriff's department decals, isn't flashy. It's a practical, well-kept vehicle required to park at home for emergency callouts. I pulled into my driveway that first night, went inside, and didn't give it a second thought. 3 days later, a neon green notice was tucked under my windshield wiper. It was an HOA violation, accusing me of parking a commercial vehicle in a residential zone. The notice was signed with a flourish by Margaret Hensley, HOA president. I decided to handle it professionally. The next morning, I walked to Margaret's house, a pristine colonial with rose bushes so perfect they looked fake. She answered the door in a blazer and scarf, like she was auditioning for a corporate boardroom. Her eyes narrowed as soon as she saw me. "Yes," she said, her tone implying I was already an inconvenience. I introduced myself calmly and explained that my SUV was a law enforcement vehicle, exempt from HOA restrictions under state law. I even handed her a printed copy of the statute. She barely glanced at it before thrusting it back. "I don't care if you're the governor," she snapped. "Rules are rules, and that eyesore is dragging down our property values." I kept my cool. "Please verify with your HOA attorney," I said. "Until then, the vehicle stays." She smirked condescendingly. "Oh, I will. Expect daily fines of $75 until it's gone." I nodded. "Let me know what your attorney says." As I walked away, I pulled out my phone to start documenting everything. Over the next 2 weeks, the harassment ramped up. Neon green notices piled up on my SUV, sometimes 3 in a single day. Margaret left voicemails at odd hours, always from a blocked number repeating, "This is your HOA president. Your commercial vehicle violates neighborhood standards." Then came her door-to-door crusade. My neighbor, Mrs. Clara Thompson, a kind retiree who baked me cookies when I moved in, told me Margaret was circulating a petition to have my SUV banned. "She told everyone you're running some sketchy security business." Clara whispered over her garden fence, said, "You're probably hiding weapons in there." I chuckled. "Well, she's not entirely wrong about the weapons, but it's not what she thinks." Clara winked. "Most of us didn't sign her petition. We like having a sheriff around." Margaret didn't stop. She started photographing my SUV at all hours, sometimes standing in my driveway at dawn, phone in hand. I documented every notice, every photo, every interaction. My sergeant at the department found it hilarious. "She's digging her own grave, Bennett," he said. "Just keep recording. People like her always go too far." He was right, but I didn't expect how far she'd go. It was a Wednesday morning, after a grueling 14-hour shift involving a hostage standoff. All I wanted was a hot shower and sleep. But as I turned onto my street, I saw the tow truck in my driveway. The driver, a nervous guy in his 20s, was hooking up my SUV while Margaret ranted. "This vehicle's been abandoned," she shouted, loud enough for the whole street to hear. The owners ignored all notices. I parked on the curb, still, in my tactical uniform, and approached. The driver saw me first and froze. Stepping away from my SUV, Margaret was too busy yelling to notice. "And another thing, this is clearly a commercial operation. Who knows what kind of liability we're facing?" That's when she turned and saw me. Her words choked off mid-sentence. The driver looked panicked. "Officer, I'm so sorry," he stammered. "She said it was abandoned. I didn't know it was a sheriff's vehicle." I kept my voice steady. "No problem. happens more than you'd think. Then I turned to Margaret, who was ghostly pale. Mom, did you call this tow truck? She opened her mouth, then closed it. Fish-like, the vehicle, she mumbled. Did you claim authority to tow a marked law enforcement vehicle? I pressed, because falsely attempting to impound government property is a serious offense. The driver jumped in. She called our company for times this week, saying she had full HOA authority, even offered cash up front, which was odd. Margaret's face flushed. I'm the HOA president. She insisted. No one's above the rules. I started recording on my phone. Just to clarify, you're admitting you tried to tow a sheriff's vehicle from private property. Claiming HOA authority, her eyes darted to the sheriff's emblem, clearly visible. It's not marked, she said weakly. Ma'am, that's an official department insignia. I replied. You've also been harassing a law enforcement officer at his residence. I have documentation of everything. The driver was already unhooking his equipment. I'm out, he muttered. She never said it was a police vehicle. Margaret sputtered. This is absurd. I'll call my attorney. I nodded. Please do. And mention that your HOA bylaws require a board vote and 72-hour notice for vehicle removal, neither of which happened. She stormed back to her house, slamming the door so hard her porch light flickered. The driver handed me his card. Sorry, officer. She sounded so official. Let me know if you need a statement. I thanked him and waved to the neighbors now peeking from their windows. The next day, I filed a complaint with the whole board. It turned out Margaret had been acting alone for months, issuing fines and rules without approval. The tow truck driver provided a statement confirming she misrepresented her authority. He also revealed she'd tried to tow his work van months earlier, when he parked near her house for a job. The HOA called an emergency meeting. Clara, who attended, gave me the details. Margaret claimed she was protecting the neighborhood, Clara said, grinning. But when they learned she'd spent HOA funds on her personal vendettas and fake board approvals, they weren't having it. The board voted unanimously to remove her. The story exploded when someone tipped off a local news station. The headline read, HOA president tries to tow sheriff's SUV, faces board ouster. Neighbors shared stories of Margaret's overreach. She'd fined one family for a non-compliant mailbox that was standard issue and threatened another with eviction over a backyard playset. The reporter uncovered that Margaret had been kicked off 3 prior HOA boards for similar antics. The coverage was her undoing. The HOA issued a formal censure, banned her from board roles for 7 years, and ordered her to pay for $200 in restitution for unauthorized expenses, including legal fees and the attempted tow dot at the next HOA meeting. Margaret was served the papers for $1,000 to $100. She shrieked. For what? The treasurer calmly listed her misdeeds: unauthorized legal consultations, printing costs for your notices, and the tow attempt we're reimbursing the sheriff for. Her face turned betrayed as she realized her reign was over. Pinewood Grove is now a true community, and I finally have the peace I wanted. If you enjoyed this story, like, share, and subscribe for more real-life dramas like this. Thanks for watching.